really important to understand that an effective mentoring relationship is based on trust. If the new teacher does not have a trusting relationship with the mentor, he or she is unlikely to share their real concerns about what's not going so well, especially if there is concern that the mentor may be sharing that information with the person who's responsible for evaluating the new teacher. Because of this, it's important that the role of the mentor and the role of the administrator remain separated by clear boundaries. Let's take a look at the different roles people can play in mentoring. On this continuum, on the far left we have evaluation, and on the far right we have coaching. And coaching in this situation is referring to peer coaching, where the teacher chooses another teacher totally on their own to come in and do some observing or some sharing of the class. This might be different than instructional coaches that your schools might have hired to work with people. So we're thinking of this in terms of peer coaches. On the far left is evaluation, which uses outside criteria for judging the teacher. It's already determined criteria by someone else. The evaluator is working for the system, as we say, and the evaluation uses the system's words. On the far right is the coaching situation, the peer coaching situation, where the teacher has total choice of what will be observed, when it will be observed, what the teacher should be looking for, what the observer should be looking for, the use of the teacher's words, for instance, not the system words. So those are the two extremes. As administrators know, we also have something called supervision, which falls more in the middle and is a balance of both evaluation and coaching. The reality is that it is difficult for teachers to know the difference between when an administrator is doing supervising and when an administrator is doing evaluation, and that's a balance that administrators have always had to work with. And so mentoring falls about here on the continuum. And so mentoring has more responsibility for the effectiveness of the teacher than peer coaching does, but not as much as supervision and evaluation. The communication between the three parties in a mentoring situation is extremely important, and we want to make sure that everybody understands what that is. Because trust is the basis of this relationship, it's important to know who can talk to who about what. Always the mentor and the beginning teacher have open communication. The beginning teacher has the right to talk to the mentor, tell them anything that they choose to, and the same with the mentor. So communication can go freely back and forth between those two people. That would also be true between the beginning teacher and the principal or the building administrator. Principal is free to communicate in any form with the beginning teacher, and the beginning teacher has the right to share anything that they choose with the principal. It's also true with information coming from the principal to the mentor. But where we run into questions is the mentor sharing information with the principal about the work of the beginning teacher. And here it's important to understand that the mentor does not have the right to share, nor the principal to ask the mentor for information about how the beginning teacher is doing. The principal does have the right to go to the mentor and share information that they have. For instance, if the principal has a concern about something that's happening with the beginning teacher, they certainly can go to the mentor and say, this is something that I've observed and that I think Mr. Jones needs a little bit of help with. I would appreciate your bringing it up with him, or you're being aware of it anyway so you can work on it. The principal doesn't have the right, though, to go back to the mentor and to say, how is it going with Mr. Jones on that? That's the principal's job, to do the observing and to do the communicating with the beginning teacher themselves on matters like that. Having a mentor in no way replaces the responsibility that the building administrator has for the evaluation of the teacher. The principal still maintains the same responsibility for that. And so we want to be careful to make sure that the beginning teacher does not believe that what he or she shares with the mentor will be shared with the principal. And I suggest that it's important that the 3 participants sit down at some time early in the process and have a visit about that so that it's clear to everybody what the channels of communication are available to each person. We call this working with a firewall, that we put a firewall between the mentor and the principal. And we hope that you will respect that. Much research has proven that that would be the most comfortable way to work for everyone and would allow the mentor and the beginning teacher to have a more effective relationship.
Thanks, Mentor Lori. I'm John Schaefer. The firewall comes into play in relation to the logs that are kept for the one-to-one conferencing time between the mentor and the beginning teacher. I want to talk to you about the 2 types of logs new teachers and mentors use. The first is the interaction log. The mentor is responsible for keeping this log of the time and the duration of the meetings that they hold and turn in those interaction logs to the NTI coordinator. Administrators, principals can request these interaction logs from the mentor. The NTI coordinator has the responsibility to verify the time so that mentors are reimbursed and new teachers receive clock hours for their work in the NTI program. However, also during the one-on-one meetings, there is the second log, the collaborative assessment log, that the mentors and new teachers use to determine a focus, set goals, and establish next steps. This document, the collaborative assessment log, is shared only between the mentor and the new teacher. The information that these collaborative assessment logs capture is not available to the principal, administrator, or NTI coordinator. It is only available to the beginning teacher and the mentor to support their work. Please feel free to contact the NTI coordinator with questions about these logs and the sharing of information and that relationship between the mentor and principal in using the firewall to maintain trusting relationships between everyone.